Hello, everybody. How's everyone doing tonight? Hello from Indiana. Yeah. So, hi, good evening, everybody. My name is Major J. Kim. We're gonna get started at 7:30, but in the meantime, if everyone could just kind of click, tell us where you come from. Yeah, I see a lot of people already chiming in. Pittsburgh, love Pittsburgh. Houston, Northeast, Buffalo. One of my favorite cities. Great to see. Welcome, everybody. Welcome. Stuttgart, Germany. That's awesome. Great to see. And that's one of the great things about SLEs. And really West Point in general. But you see a lot of people come from all over the world, and it's good to see that's also taking place during this Facebook Live event. Uh, See him coming in from Kansas, tuning in from Virginia, Springfield, Illinois. Great, great, great. Also, as you kind of write where you are tuning in from, if you could also leave where you are. No, if I know some of you out there, maybe parents or older graduates out there, have attended SLE. If you have, please, I'd like you to chime in to let me know when you attended SLE, what your thoughts were about the program, because really what this is it's going to be share an open kind of conversation about SLE. I'm going to be talking about certain specifics of it, but really talking about what you learned at the program and like how it helped your decision either to apply to West Point or you decided, hey, I prefer to become an Army officer, a different route, or maybe military service isn't right for you. So so please continue to write where you come from. Boston, Queens, New York. It's great to see a lot of Northeast places from the Northeast out there. State of Louisiana, Sacramento, California. So, yeah, because we do have, I guess I would typically start with saying good evening, but because we have people from all over the world, really, and to say welcome everybody. Not good evening, might be afternoon. Not sure what time it is in Germany right now in Stuttgart, but Randolph, New Jersey. So I'm not gonna. I guess yeah. I live in New Jersey. I grew up in New Jersey, so it has always a soft spot in my place in my heart for New Jersey. Let's see, I'm looking Western New York, Pittsburgh. Love Pittsburgh, especially love Primanti Brothers. Bergen County, New Jersey. That's where I was born and raised. That's where I live now too. William, so good to see you. Welcome. Oh, Frederick, Maryland. My wife loves antique shopping in Frederick, Maryland. So. Yes, thank you. Beautiful city. I love it. So we are going to get started in another 2 minutes. Actually 1 minute. But as everyone said, if you do like something, if you enjoy what we're saying, please feel free to comment. Joining me today are Captain Brad Davis, the Far West Regional Commander, and also Mr. Jermaine Clark, who does all the social media for West Point. He's also a West Point grad. So we have a great team out here tonight. Really here for you to help you answer any questions and teach you about what SLE is, what we're trying to accomplish with SLE. And yeah, so if you do like anything you hear, please feel free to hit the like button. But yeah, let us know, send some hearts our way. We just want to interact with you as much as possible and kind of know that what we're saying is resonating and that it is, I guess, yeah, that we're reaching you. And that, because as I stated a couple minutes early, for those just chiming in, I ideally would like this to be a conversation between myself and all of you who are interested. And we are here to answer any questions. You could ask questions via the comments, and either our team will answer them, or I will also try to answer them. I'll stop every now and then to answer questions about SLE, especially during our Q&A session at the end. So, because it's the military, I see it as exactly 7:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so I'm going to get started. Welcome, everybody. My name is Major J. Kim. I'm the Northeast Regional Commander, so go Northeast, right? With me today, as I stated before, Captain Brad Davis. He is Far West Regional Commander, and then Jermaine Clark, who runs all of West Point Admissions social media content, also West Point graduate, a previous Army officer. So we are all here today to talk about West Point Summer Leaders Experience. I'm going to be, I don't have many slides to talk over, so this is going to be very slide intensive. The point of this is going to be for us to answer your questions and kind of first of all, let you know what SLE is, how to get there, and what to expect when you're there, and just the different types of things that are going on with it, COVID impacts, and what we're looking at. So, right off the bat, I'd like to begin with a question. Right? The question is, how are you spending the summer after junior year of high school? And my presentation, I'm going to open and close it with quotes. These are quotes from actual attendees from SLE, and I'll tell you right off the bat, this quote, some of the people that wrote these quotes, one of them didn't end up coming to the academy. So, it's an experience that really is helping you to discover, hey, what it is that you want to do. What path do you see yourself? Where would you like to potentially be 5, 10 years down the line? And if military service, being an Army officer, and West Point can help fit that goal. So, I know all of you can read, but I'm just going to read it. It's going to say, for high school juniors, even if you're like me, unsure about whether you want to pursue a future at West Point or the military, I encourage you to apply for SLE. There, I met many other intelligent, talented, and determined individuals I hope to see again in the future. The camp demands, but I believe I left a stronger person because of it. So yeah, the purpose of SLE really is to kind of help us facilitate and show you what academy life is like, a taste of academy life, what being a cadet means, and it will help you make your decision. Because at the end of the day, I always tell the candidates that I work with, hey, what is the most important thing is you make the decision that's right for you. So if that means coming to West Point, we'd love to have you. If that means serving at earning your commission through ROTC, that's great too. When you commission, we're all on the same team, regardless of if you go through ROTC or West Point. Or if that means serving your country in some other way, potentially maybe not in the military, that's great too, as long as you're figuring out some way to give back to your country. So, the real question, I know, so the next question I'm going to ask, many of you know it. Can some of you kind of, before I flip the site, what is SLE? What have you heard about SLE? I just want to take a couple minutes to ask the audience out there, what have you heard about SLE? And there's a bit of lag, but I will start answering. If anyone has heard anything, just what they've heard or learned about SLE, I'm actually curious to know, because we are trying to get information out about this. But, and I guess I'll go back and answer the question, but, what is SLE? It's really a week-long immersion into the academic, military, and social life for the academy. And it really, okay, I see Peter saying mini West Point, mini boot camp that gives insight to USMA, right? Summer experience. Ava is saying summer experience that gives an inside look at Army life and the idea of West Point build, right? All those things are absolutely correct. So I see Stuart, it's a summer program that's supposed to show me what West Point is like. Right, and Ashlyn, an experience of what West Point is like academically and physically. Yes, all those answers are correct. Reading Hannah, immersive program for aspiring cadets. Right, so it is an immersive program for inspiring cadets, just as Hannah said. During that week, we're going to expose you to different aspects of what being a cadet means. So that means the first day you're going to come and you're going to go through a mock R day. Now, I was reading what some other people wrote about SLE, and this actually surprised them. They were not anticipating that when they arrived, they would get yelled at. So you see the picture on the far right. My face is kind of covering it, but yeah, you will go through a mock R day. You will kind of see what will happen on R day. The other part of it, though, we really want you to, and I keep going back to this, like SLE is to help you make the best choice possible. So we're going to allow you, as part of the process, to kind of preference, hey, these are the majors that I'm interested in learning, and we're going to have academic workshops where you're going to work on real problems with our professors and kind of figure out if you're interested in chemistry. You'll do chemistry labs. If you are interested in law, you might do a mock trial or debates, things of that nature. And then really the military experience. This is what puts the military in the United States Military Academy, right? So the physical training, the weapons familiarization, you see a picture of that on the top left, obstacle courses, which are a lot of fun. I would say for the people that I meet, the candidates I speak with, they really enjoy this military experience, and not for the reasons that you think. Obviously, it's pretty cool to play around with a machine gun or do an obstacle course, but the real reason is you get put in these environments with people from across the world, and right, it goes down to the point below. You interact with current cadets and West Point applicants from around the world, and you're building teams while you're going through challenges like the obstacle course. You are encouraging each other through the physical training as you do morning physical training and you take the CFA. So all these things really very quickly you will see build some very tight bonds, and that interaction piece with the current cadets and West Point applicants from around the world, I see that really as being the number one thing, the real benefit of not only seeing the academy, but it's a strong reason to try to come to SLE, because I talk to on our day or prior when I see candidates in normal non-COVID years. We travel a lot throughout our geographic regions and talk to candidates, and the ones that I talk to that have attended SLE, they always say, when I ask them the question, do you still talk with your squad mates? They say, yes, we talk all the time. We're still in a WhatsApp chat together. We are encouraging each other through the application process. So these are really important things. Those friendships that you build in this 1 week immersive program, they really do last a lot longer than 1 week. So that's really great. So now, I just want to stop and really ask any questions. Does anyone have any questions about? I'm going to be addressing a lot of different things, but any specific detailed questions about SLE that they're interested for. So Nicole, are there options for people interested in becoming military lawyers? Nicole, we have one of the best law departments in the country. You cannot go directly to law school after you graduate, but there is a program called the FLEP program, the Funded Legal Education Program. You apply to that about 3 years after you graduate from West Point, and you can become a military lawyer. Yes, so that is a great question. Does West Point have cybersecurity and counterterrorism major option? Counterterrorism, I believe, is a minor. West Point does. I'm not sure if cybersecurity is the exact major, but I know we have a robust cyber computer science program. Would this look good on your application? And Patricia, I'm going to answer that a little later. I'm going to talk about it. But I'll tell you right now, right off the bat, the real benefits of going to SLE among them are, look, right off the bat, you don't earn points for attending SLE. There's no, so we use a whole candidate score, and if you haven't seen the way we calculate our whole candidate scores and you're evaluated, I encourage you to look at, either tune in next week or the next time we do a Facebook Live event about the admissions process, or you could go into the videos that are posted and kind of watch one. But no, you do not receive points for attending SLE, but the big benefit, as I stated before, goes back to meeting that group that is going to encourage you as you go through the application process. And the other big benefits are you do the CFA, and if you pass it at SLE, you do not have to do it again. And you do not have to go through the video review process. So I know there has to be someone on here. There's a couple hundred people on here. There has to be someone who is an applicant now and has gone through the video review process and had their videos rejected. If so, chime in. Don't be embarrassed. It happens a lot, but going to SLE, you do not have to go through that video review process if you pass it, so that's a big benefit. And you also get your interview knocked out or taken care of at SLE, which is really a big opportunity. So the next part I'm going to be talking about, so I'm having some questions about application specific questions. So I will transition and talk about really how to apply and what we're looking for. Daniel, I know you're asking about the COVID impacts. Can I apply without SAT scores? If you give me 10 seconds, I will address that once this slide switches over. But really, how to apply, right? You complete a candidate questionnaire between January 15th and March 15th, 2021 with the following information. In the candidate questionnaire, that's the basic first step of the West Point application. So if you have applied to West Point, you go through a first step, which is the candidate questionnaire, and then the second step, which is really the majority of your file, the rest of your file, that opens up sometime in the summertime. But this first candidate questionnaire, be on the lookout. That's going to open up January 15th. And it's going to be focused mainly, for our SLE evaluation, it's going to be based on the academic portion of your overall file. So GPA, SAT, ACT, PSAT scores. Now, we understand that we are in the midst of a global pandemic with test cancellations all over the place. So we are flexible, so you can continue to update. You can apply, and I would encourage you to do so. Open up your candidate questionnaire early, and then even if you don't have tests. So even if you don't have tests, I encourage you to open that file up, and then from the February 6th, uh, there is an ACT, so try to sign up for that. And then March 13th, there's an SAT. We will accept those scores if you get them into us. Now, if no testing is possible, and this is a possibility for many, if testing is not possible at all, what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at your high school transcripts, what classes you've taken, the grades that you've achieved in them. And then we'll also take a look at things like your AP test scores, if you're an IB curriculum. We're going to look at all that stuff and make a determination. Then we're also going to ask you to list your extracurricular activities in sports. Now, for those of you who are familiar with the whole candidate score, you know that the leadership aspect is 30% of your file. It is not so for SLE. While we are going to take a look at it, it is not going to hold the same weight, so it's going to be the main focus for the SLE evaluation is going to lie with the GPA, SAT, ACT, PSAT scores. So I would encourage you, if you can take a test, or if you can take one of these February or March SATs, ACTs, please try to do so. Because just in general, for the whole, any service academy really, testing early is important and it's helpful to your file. So I just want to take a quick break and see if there's any other questions. I know I see a lot of questions coming in, and the great members out there are helping answering as many as possible. So Christian's asking, would JROTC help? Christopher, so being in JROTC is listed as extracurricular. It would be evaluated, but it would not hold the weight that it would necessarily would later on in the application. But where it is important is that it shows that, hey, you're familiar with the military and you are inclined to military service just by virtue of you being in JROTC. So great question. Are PSATs valid? Yes, we will accept PSAT questions, PSAT scores. Is SAT still required for West Point admissions? Yes. West Point admissions for for the juniors in the room, yes, SAT with essay is still required. ACT with writing. We understand implications of COVID, and we are kind of playing that out. So, but if you have not taken it, and the only test that you had was without essay, you can still send us your scores, and we will evaluate them. You will not be penalized for not being able to take a test with the essays. What's the range of SAT scores you're looking for? That's a tricky question. I couldn't catch the name because of moving so quickly. The questions are coming fast and furious, but that's a difficult question, and the reason it is because, let me go to the next slide. And I'm actually going to address that in the next slide. So if you give me 1 second, I will do it. So Daniel asked, what are the requirements for the CFA? So the CFA, for those of you who don't know, you will take it at SLE. Big thing, 6 events. You have to pass each event, and you have to pass all the events with a minimum score, which we will not tell you. So please don't ask what the minimum score is. And then you're going to have an overall high enough score to pass the CFA. But that is a big thing, and I'm going to talk about that a little later on. What is the age range? So Mika, that SLE is geared towards high school rising seniors. So between the summer of junior and senior year, that is who SLE is geared for. What part of the summer is SLE usually done? Great question. Help me segue into the program information. So session 1, scheduled to occur 29 May to 4 June. Session 2 is 5 to 11 June. Now you can put a preference for one session or the other, and we try our best to accommodate. So we know that there's different events that come up. We know, especially in the Northeast, certain high schools do not graduate until later. Some schools may be taking finals, so you can definitely preference and request certain different preferences. But the question about what the minimum SAT, ACT scores, we can't answer that because the candidates are selected based on the strength of the information they submit in the candidate questionnaire. So the academic portion, a little bit of the extracurriculars, and their geographic location. And can anyone tell me why we also look at geographic location? I'm gonna wait for. Um, I'll give it a couple seconds, but as I move on, yeah, there's a reason that we look for a geographic location. So, all SLE admissions decisions, I know usually we would have these would kind of be rolling, but this year we are going to make all decisions in April. And the reason this is we are actually holding out and we are trying to, what we're trying to do is we are absolutely 100% trying to make sure that SLE in person is a go. This is what we're planning for. This is what we are trying to make happen, but we are still waiting for the impacts of COVID to be fully realized, and then that's why we're not going to make admissions decisions until the April timeframe. And then at the April timeframe, we are going to decide, hey, what shape or form SLE is going to take place in. So, as I said before, we are trying to make it so that in-person SLE happens. But if that is absolutely not possible, then we will look at doing a virtual SLE. So that is why admissions decisions are going to happen in April. Um, when SLE, if SLE does occur in person, the most important thing, especially for the parents that are tuning in, like the most important thing is going to be the safety, the health and safety of your sons or daughters. So that's why ensuring that we're meeting all federal and New York State COVID regulations in terms of safety, like that is the number one priority for us. Like, but yes, admissions decisions will come in April, and then um, getting accepted or not getting accepted has nothing to do with getting in to West Point or not getting into West Point. So every single year we have hundreds that get into SLE that ultimately do not end up matriculating to the academy, and hundreds that do. So it's just a snapshot in time of the strength of your file, but it does not getting in. Don't be discouraged by not getting in. It's actually, I believe SLE is a single digit acceptance rate or something like that. So I encourage you to apply, but it absolutely does not mean that if you don't get in that you're not getting accepted. So, and I talked about this before, but going to SLE, it doesn't impact your overall application with extra points, and it's really designed to help a candidate decide if West Point is right for them or not. So going back to the question, I want to see if was anyone able to answer my question about the geographic location component being considered as part of the candidate questionnaire. Let's see. I have not seen. Maybe it has moved so quickly. So yeah, I don't see the answer, and I probably missed it. But the reason that is because the way that we select candidates, and for this goes back to having a nomination be a requirement for acceptance into West Point, and nominations are from all over the United States. So you have representatives from North Dakota, you have representatives from Florida, New Jersey, Texas, California. They all nominate different candidates, and that's why, in keeping with that, we try to have a very diverse spread from across the United States of candidates to kind of tie into like, not only do we want a diverse geographic population of cadets, we also want to make sure that we are lining up and ensuring that like candidates that are applying from North Dakota who will go through the nomination process, they are considered as well, or all different types of places. So right, Molly's saying cross country representation. That's correct. So next, so the next thing I'm going to be kind of going over are just common questions and frequently asked questions about the admissions about SLE. Now the first question that we always get about SLE, and I'm just going to wait for a second for this to actually roll over, but the first question is, will SLE occur this year? And I think I hit that pretty hard, but yes, we are planning for SLE to occur at West Point as in previous years. Unfortunately, for the seniors now who are applying, they didn't have the opportunity due to the impacts of COVID. But yes, if that's not possible, like we are planning to host SLE, and if that's not possible, then we will host a virtual program. But as I stated before, the final decision is going to be made in May. Sorry, someone's calling me right now. Someone's calling me in my office at 8 o'clock at night. So SLE versus girls or boys state. This is a very, very common question. And, we hear people blanket say girls or boys state is more important. So if they conflict and you can only do one, to uh, go to boys or girls state. That is not necessarily true. That can potentially be true because boys or girls state may potentially help you with your extracurricular strength of your file, but that is not necessarily the case. The decision is really very individualized and it's dependent on what you have done in your extracurriculars. So let's say you have pretty strong extracurricular activities. You are student body president. You're student body president, editor chief of the newspaper. You volunteer a number of hours. You do these things like you're an Eagle Scout, a Gold Star Award winner. Like you may not necessarily need to go to boys or girls state for you to get the maximum benefit for your application. So that question is a really personal question for each candidate. There is no blanket answer saying yes, this is better. If you can do this, do this. I know a lot of people out there kind of say yes, if you can go to boys or girls state, just do that. That is not necessarily the case. And as I stated before, there are these intangible benefits with SLE that I personally am a strong advocate of. Declan is asking, can you do both SLE and boys state? Yes, you can. And like ideally, if you can do both, you should try to do both because both are great programs. You learn a lot and you meet a lot of great people at both programs. But if you can do both, yes, try to do both. So Aaron Yang is asking, how do you apply for girls state? You actually have to be, typically it's different places around the country. You have to be sponsored by your local American Legion. So your American Legion will recommend you. Sometimes there's an interview process, sometimes there's not. And sometimes schools will give a recommendation to the American Legion, but that process actually runs through the American Legion, your local American Legion Lodge, and that is for juniors who are rising to be seniors. How much does SLE cost? So SLE costs approximately $500 to $550 per person. We will give an exact number later on, but I just like to highlight one important point about SLE, about the cost of it. There's program cost. So the program cost is going to include all your food, room and board, and gear. So we're going to give you some clothes, backpack. Transportation cost is on the candidate. So we do not pay for transportation costs, and that $500 to $550 does not include transportation costs. So if you can drive here, your transportation cost may be a little less than if you need to fly. So please keep that in mind as you're planning through the process, but there is a cost associated with SLE. Christopher's asking, why is it not a set price? We are still kind of working out the logistics of it, so we are going to have a set price. It's not going to be $550 for you and $500 for you. It is something that we are working through, and once you get a finalized price, we will let all accepted candidates know. So Rick is asking, do you need letters of recommendations from teachers, mentors, coaches? No, you do not for SLE. At this point, as I stated, we are kind of focusing heavily on your academics, so your GPA and your GPA as well as your SAT, ACTs, PSATs, and all that information. Couple other questions. Nicole is asking, preference between ACTs and SATs? No, we do not have a preference between either. I try to recommend that if you have the time and resources, try to take both to see what you are better at, and then focus on that test and continually try to improve. Oh, Tanner is saying, I see there's a medical exam needed. Is that just a sports physical, or is that part of the CFA? Tanner, the medical exam is actually part of the West Point application process. For SLE, you will have to submit some medical forms and a medical waiver. Likely, we'll also have a COVID questionnaire of some sort on there, but the official medical process that you go through when you're an applicant, that opens up with your second step kit later on in the summer, typically around the June time frame. So Soyeon Moon, so you're allowed to have your phones with you during the sessions. Yes, you are. I believe we asked you keep them in the room during the day, but you are allowed later on at nighttime to have your phone with you when you're not engaged in activities. So So I last couple slides, like tips for success. Apply early, and I talked about this. You can continue to update with new test scores, but don't wait until the last minute. Don't wait until the 14th or 15th of March to submit your candidate questionnaire. Please do not do that. This is also advice for your West Point application. If all of you who are watching end up opening an application for West Point, do not wait till the last minute. Please try to be early. We routinely go through, even though our application deadline is January 31st, we routinely go through and close files for candidates that are not working through them. So same thing with SLE. Apply early. Make sure that you're getting what you need in early. Um, so SLE kicks off the application process, right? This is a long journey from SLE all the way until acceptance. And if I have any cadets on here watching, or grads out there who can talk about this or kind of talk about their experience, it is a long process. So having SLE kind of be the kicking off point where you start the process and start the planning, thinking, okay, I'm committing myself to this journey. Here is what I need to do. Maybe developing a chart that has different timelines you have to do. Junior year, working on standardized test scores, ensuring that you have a good rapport with teachers that you could potentially ask for student evaluations. All those things are important. So making sure that when SLE starts, hey, okay, this is what it's like. And this goes back to a saying, I'm not sure if many of you have heard it, but how do you eat an elephant, right? You eat an elephant a bite at a time. West Point application is an elephant. And so I recommend taking it bit by bit, and SLE is a great opportunity, the beginning of your application, to chart what you need to do and start slowly chopping pieces off, because starting early in January is way easier than starting in September, October, November, and then having to scramble. I kind of mentioned this too, but show up to SLE physically fit. And a recommendation, this is my personal tip to all of you, is if you're going to go to SLE, take a mock CFA at least one time so you know what you're getting into. The CFA, the Candidate Fitness Assessment, has specific time requirements that you have to meet. So you could have your friend or your parents or someone like that kind of run you through a mock CFA so that when you do get to West Point and you run this CFA, you know what to expect and you can pass it and not have to go through the video review process. Ava's asking, do people fail the CFA at SLE commonly? The answer is yes. Very many people fail the SLE at CFA. So not failing the CFA at SLE will put you ahead of the ball game. So make sure you're coming in ready to do your best. And this is the final thing. Go with a good attitude. SLE is going to be challenging. There's going to be times where, like, for example, on mock R day, many of you are probably not used to having someone yell at you or telling you, well, maybe not yelling you, but forcibly correcting you, telling you to go a place, stand a certain way. Go with a good attitude and understand that it's an opportunity to really experience something different. So many of you will end up applying, but some may not. How many of you will have the opportunity? And for those that don't, this is your one opportunity to kind of experience what cadet life is like. So go there with a good attitude, meet some great people, and really, as I keep kind of hitting, make sure, go there with the mindset, I'm going with an open mind, I'm going to learn, and I'm going to try to see if West Point is the right fit for me. Okay. So I just want to brief quote. I started with the quote. I'm going to end with the quote. And this is a person that, I'll be in complete honesty, this person did not end up applying to West Point. She did not end up applying. She loved her time at SLE, but felt her decision that military life wasn't for her. But overall, this is what she wrote. As cliche as it may sound, I grew a lot as a person in this week. You can't force me to assume confidence. Because to survive challenges, I had to trust in myself, my body, my mind, my choices, and I left SLE with more self-awareness. This is a good opportunity. I keep going back to take advantage of this opportunity, use it, and kind of help discover if SLE, if West Point is the right path for you. And that is really the most important thing that we are looking for. So now, that is really all that I had in terms of official sites, and I'll answer some questions that you may have. Oh, what barracks do you stay in during SLE? Um, that is a good question. I believe it changes usually, but um, Tanisha, I am not gonna lie to you. I do not know the answer for that. So, um, ma'am, I'll just say I do not know the answer to that. uh, so, Everett, if I want to take the PSATs or SAT in January, should I complete those before applying SLE, or should I apply as soon as possible? Everett, I would apply as possible and update us with your SAT or PSAT scores. So, open up the Candy questionnaire and you can always update. How many people usually apply? Matthew is asking. I believe um, I believe we roughly have about 8 to 10,000 applicants for summer leaders experience, but that is a number that fluctuates year to year. Thomas is asking, will I get access to a nice hot shower? You should, but the last time we ran it, so not for the class of 2024, but the class of 2023, their water was broken, so they enjoyed nice cold showers for most of the time. So hopefully we will have that corrected by the time the summer rolls around. And yes, you will have warm meals and nice hot showers. What is the CFA test regimen? Jonathan, I would encourage you to actually Google that. It's the same for Army, Navy, and Air Force. We 6 events all time. Well, different time limits, different events, but um, you can do a quick Google search and kind of learn about what the recommendations are. Um, let's see. So I'm having some medical questions. Like medical is, I'm not a medical professional, so I don't want to speak um, kind of out of turn. But hey, if medical, I would say check that there is a Department of Defense instruction, DODI 3160, that lists, or you could Google DODI medical qualification, and it'll kind of list everything that DODMERB, the Department of Defense Medical Examination Review Board, will look at when they are considering your file for medical. So I don't want to speak about medical because I'm not a medical professional. I would recommend that you look at that document and kind of see what, try to answer your questions that way. I'm going to keep answering any questions, but hey, if you liked what I was talking, if you had your questions answered, or if you enjoyed what you saw, please give us a like, let us know, and also we also do this pretty routinely. So I would try to follow West Point Admissions Instagram page, Facebook, because we are always putting out new information about different aspects of our program. So if you have not done so, please send us a like, follow our West Point Admissions page. Let's see. So Jillian is American Legion the only way into SLE. So Jillian, the American Legion are the ones that recommend for girls and boys state. You do not need to be connected with the American Legion for SLE. Peyton, when should we start the candidate questionnaire? I would start it January 15th, which is the day that it opens if you are rising, if you're a junior currently. As a freshman, what should I be doing now in order to prepare for SLE and West Point in general? That's a great question, Christy. What I would do personally is, continue to prepare for standardized tests. As a freshman, I know it's a little early, but try to take them early junior year. So kind of set up your timeline where you're doing that. Also, look at your high school transcripts so that you're, look at the classes you're taking so that you're making sure that you're taking 4 years of math, 4 years of English with at least pre-calculus, and that you are trying to do well in these courses. I would also encourage you, as a freshman, you're not going to be the captain of your team or sport or club, but you can position yourself to start taking leadership more and more and more so that when the time comes senior year, you will be a leader, and that's what we're looking for. Strong academics, strong leadership, strong physical fitness. That's what makes you as competitive as possible. So Christopher's asking, what does the $550 go to? It goes through your lodging, your food, all your meals, and it goes through some swag that you get. You're going to get some uniforms. So to do physical fitness in, you're going to get a polo shirt, or you're going to get a hat, backpack, stuff like that. So that is where the money is going to. It's used to pay for the different expenses that you will have at SLE. Can different, I think I saw, can you do the buddy system in West Point? Like enlistment. That's it. Okay, so not to mislead you, but it's kind of a difficult question to answer. But if both of you, you and your friend, who are looking to do the buddy system, if both of you are strong enough candidates, then both of you can potentially come to the academy and enter, and you won't necessarily be in the same company, but you will be at the academy together. So last year, um, they are plebes now. I knew two female candidates who are best friends growing up. Both of them got accepted, and they are still best friends, and they see each other almost every day here at West Point. So there is no buddy program, but if you both work hard enough, you can both get here. Um, Now, where can I submit my SAT AC scores, and where can I fill out? So Anthony, that's going to come out January 15th when you open up your application. westpoint.edu/admissions, and then you're going to be able to open a start a candidate questionnaire. It's going to ask you for some basic information, your date of birth, your social security number, but from that point on, you can start moving forward with the application and start this journey that will ultimately, hopefully, lead you to being a cadet and then later on a commissioned Army officer. Uh, so, just gonna answer a couple more questions and then answer as many questions as I can, and then call it a night. Or for those that where it isn't a night, call it a day. So, how does virtual SLE work, Lynn? That's a great question, and we are trying to do SLE in person if at all possible. But if we do virtual SLE, we are looking at incorporating things like the virtual academic workshops, potentially doing um, a virtual workout sessions, and then a virtual tour of the campus. So those are things that we'd look at for the virtual SLE program if it does go on. And of course, if it is virtual, the cost would not be $500 to $550. But going back, we are trying to do everything that we can to make it so that we do this in person. Do you need to be 17 to go to SLE, Kyle? No, you do not, but we will require a waiver that is signed by your parent, just saying, hey, like we understand our daughter or son wants to go to SLE, and we understand that, right, we are authorizing that to happen. Emma's asking what percent of the SLE attendees are girls. So Emma, that number kind of changes every year, but it's in line with what the Corps of Cadets is. So 20% roughly around 20%, just like the Corps of Cadets, which is roughly 20% female. That is the number that we kind of shoot for as we build our SLE classes. Catherine is asking, is a 4.3 GPA good? Is that a humble brag? That is a very good GPA. So yes, 4.3 GPA is very good. And Gianna is asking, what makes a candidate stand out? The majority of our application is based on academics. So if you want to stand out, having solid test scores, having solid GPA and challenging classes, that's what we're looking for. But we also look at, like I said, things like the extracurriculars that you're participating in and the intangibles too. Like me personally, I always ask the opinion of my field force members. So your interaction with your field force is important. I would encourage all of the juniors out there who haven't kind of established a relationship. It's a good opportunity once you open your SLE application to do so. Now, please don't bombard them with questions because they're very busy people, like they're volunteers for us. But as you move through the process, kind of listening and taking the advice they have. I'm just going to answer 2 more questions and then call it a night. But like, as I said, if you enjoyed what you saw, please send us a like. If it goes virtual, will we have to pay? No, I do not know the answer to that question, but I'm assuming that if it is virtual, I do not want to speak and get fired. But I would assume that if it's virtual, there would be little to no cost. Does USAPA do SLE at the same time as West Point? I do not know. I know Army, Navy, Air Force, we all do it around the same time. But really, you should only concern yourself with West Points because we are the best academy and the best football team and the best SLE program. No, but I'm joking, kind of. SLE is around the time frame for both. So I have known candidates that have attended both of them. So either Army and Navies or Army and Air Forces. So they are roughly around the same time. So that may be a difficult decision. Final question was related to cumulative GPA, weighted GPA. What we typically look for weighted GPA, but really we've seen every single type of GPA possible, weighted, unweighted, 100-point scale, 4-point scale, 6-point scale, 7-point scale. So we have ways to convert and kind of get a good gauge of academically how your performance is in comparison to other candidates. So no need to worry about all that. Just focus on doing the absolute best that you possibly can. It has been a pleasure being with you tonight and interacting with all of you. I thank you for tuning in and really taking the time to learn about SLE. I encourage you to apply as soon as it opens up, and we look forward to continuing to work with you as you go through this process of applying to West Point and hopefully becoming an Army officer. But thank you very much. Have a great night, everybody, and go Army, beat Navy.